Hello, my name is Marcia Hoyer, and I'm the director of Voices of 2020.
My name is Kurt Nicholsberg, and I am the producer of Voices of 2020.
On behalf of all the student performers and the playwrights and the technicians, as well as all of the adults that worked on this project, we just want to say thank you so much for taking time to listen, grow, learn, and hopefully be moved by these performances. If you haven't watched all of our episodes yet, please go back and do so and share them with somebody that you know who may want or possibly need to see them.
We recognize that this has been a difficult time for everyone, no more so than in the theater community where theaters are closed down and we're not able to perform except in situations like this. And we're greatly appreciative of all the support that you've given us. We would encourage you that if you can't donate to us, at least donate to your local theater community. After all, they need to have a place to speak as well, just like our students have been able to speak. I would love for you to just dig in and listen to this last episode and hear the voices of our students.
These are the voices of our children.
These are the voices of our students.
These are the voices of 2020.
More than 130,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and more than 2,000 deaths.
Significant upticks in people reporting significant levels of anxiety and depression. We're living in a world where the goalposts are moved every single day.
The U.S. sets a record for new COVID-19 infections for a third straight day. Friday saw more than 126,000 new cases reported. At least one person has been shot dead and a number of others injured during a third night of protests in the U.S. city of Kenosha.
We don't have to survive! We need to live! We need to live! My brothers need to live! My sisters need to live! My mother needs to live! I want to breathe! I want to breathe!
The gunfire started in the early hours of Wednesday after hundreds of protesters defied a dawn-to-dusk curfew and clashed with police, then responded with tear gas and rubber bullets.
Achoo! I sneezed right in the middle of the store. Do they think I have it? I don't. It was Wednesday evening, and zombies plodded through the grocery rows. My mother picked out the vegetables while I picked out the fruits. Berries glistened in the white light, but I was too busy picking out people. And there were so many varieties of people, so different, I thought. A black woman put back the cookies her 5-year-old son took out. An old East Asian man grabbed some tofu as his wife buzzed about. A tall white man saw the last salmon stolen and began to pout. A girl in a long dress admired her friend's hijab. It was beautiful, without a doubt. But although they were as different as the multitudinous fruits on the shelf, they tasted the same. How unappetizing. Sometimes I wish the Neanderthals were here. Homo sapiens are too similar. We all share love, hate, doubt, and so many other biological impulses I can't tell you about. And to think some people prefer everyone to look alike too. Why wouldn't you want to see someone different from you? Hear their worlds, their ideas, their views? But some people are just too picky. They hide behind what they believe is to be true, the unknown, with their guns. They'll say strawberries are too seedy, mangoes too sweet, apples are the divine fruit that all must eat. But apples keep the doctors away, and we need doctors more than ever.
About 3 years ago, when I was in 8th grade, I realized that I liked women. In my giddy excitement, tinged with a bit of fear and confusion, I told one of my best friends. They then told the rest of my friends because they forgot that they were the only ones who knew. And that was how I ended up coming out as bisexual. For 3 years, that was how I identified. I never really questioned my attraction to men because I always just guessed it was there. It had always been assumed that I liked men by my friends and by my family, so I assumed it too. When I realized how rare it was that I actually found a man attractive, I assumed that I just had a large preference for women. Well, about a month ago, I started to question if my preference for women was actually my entire sexuality. I realized that whenever I had found a man attractive, it had always felt like a conscious decision to feel that way. And while the idea of kissing a guy had never made me cringe or feel sick to my stomach, it didn't exactly excite me either. But the thing that really should have tipped me off was that the idea of marrying a man had always made me sad. After realizing all of this, I finally understood that I'm actually a lesbian. And let me tell you, coming out for the first time is gut-wrenchingly terrifying. But coming out for a second time is just weird. For one thing, I didn't know how big of a deal to make it. My friends already knew that I was LGBTQ, I just had to let them know that I was the L instead of the B. I tend to be slightly uncomfortable when people start to compliment me, and be totally clueless when people start to praise me. So afterwards, when my friends were all being incredibly supportive, it felt really awkward. Don't get me wrong, being acknowledged and validated feels amazing. And I'm so lucky to have friends who will immediately tell me how much they love me and then start cracking jokes. But there's always that nagging feeling telling me I don't deserve any of it. And then there's the thought that daunts me. What if I'm wrong? I was wrong once, who's to say I won't be wrong the second time too? I'm terrified of being judged for being confused. But here's the thing that anyone who has ever been or ever will be confused about their sexuality needs to remember. It's okay to change your label. It's okay if you change it once or twice or even 100 times. Understanding yourself is probably the hardest thing you will ever do. It's harder than breaking a habit, harder than asking for help, harder even than asking a waiter for extra ketchup packets. So please, don't beat yourself up for being unsure. What matters is that you're happy. In the end, that's everyone's goal.
I thought being away from school would be absolutely horrible. I mean, how was I supposed to learn anything while stuck on Google Classroom? First, it was only supposed to be 1 week plus spring break, and I was completely okay with that. It felt like an extended vacation, which I was totally down for. The only downside was that we couldn't go see our friends, but it really didn't bother me that much. I sat down the Sunday before we were supposed to return back to school and opened my email for the first time in a while. And when I did, there it was. An email in all caps saying no more school for the next 2 weeks at least. To be honest, my heart started pounding. I mean, we were going to miss out on practice for theater, and I was going to miss out on 2 or more weeks of education before my 3 AP tests. I had no idea how I was going to bounce back from this. But, nonetheless, I sat down for my first day of online school as a procrastinator and promptly finished all of my assignments for the week. This was crazy. I now had all this time to do whatever I wanted to do. I could go see my friends, or not. Video games it is then, but the question still lingered in my head, how was I going to see my friends? And this was when my third major realization hit me. My friends and I played games together all the time, so all we really had to do was move it online. I never really missed out on anything major from before COVID started. In fact, the only thing I missed out on was drama and more drama. And to be quite honest, the only kind of drama I ever missed was the theater kind of drama. All of those silly little arguments that came up a lot went away. Everyone I knew chilled out, and it made me a lot happier, and it really brought down my anxiety and my stress levels. Things continued like this for the rest of the school year and even into this year. And I'm really hopeful that things will go back to normal soon, because as fun as quarantine is, it is getting a bit monotonous. But until then, I'm really glad I have the time to be myself.
My relationship with my family can be complicated sometimes, for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of love there, but not always a whole lot of understanding. So I know when things get hard, I can turn to my friends, my lovely little chosen family, who are always accepting of me, and who, in some ways, probably saved my life. I've never been great at communicating verbally, especially when it comes to talking about the hard things in life. So when I can't communicate with my words, I communicate through touch. My friends know this about me, and a lot of them are the same way. So often when we spend time together, we're touching. When we sit and talk, there's always someone with their arm around another person and another person with their head on someone else's lap. We hug when we say hello and when we say goodbye. And when we walk down the hallways, we're holding hands or interlocking arms. When two of us pass each other in the hallway, we have this little 5-second interaction. We'll see each other, smile, and then start to cross over to each other. Then, as we pass, we'll grasp each other's hand for a moment. Then we'll continue on our way. We're constantly looking for ways to connect, and for those few moments, it's our way of telling the other person, hey, I see you, I love you, have a good next class. Touch is our way of communicating when we don't have the time, the words, or the emotional capacity to talk. For me, something as simple as a hug can be the most powerful thing in the world. There's just something about a hug that not only makes it easier to show your emotions, but to understand them. And this year has been full of emotions for me, a lot of which have been confusing. In 6 months, I have not been able to hug or even touch any of my friends. Distance has created this disconnect between us. We're barely able to see each other, and even when we are, there's always someone missing. Plus, now there's a vital part of our communication that's now off limits. I just keep thinking about a time when the pandemic is finally over and finally getting to hug my friends again. I miss those little reminders that I'm loved that come in the form of someone else's arms. I just keep imagining when we're finally able to connect, like we used to.
I reach and I reach and I reach, yet nothing.
I cannot seem to grasp the fact that this is happening.
There is darkness.
All around me, I hear sobbing and cries for help.
My head spins as I try looking for them, but still, nothing.
I can't find anyone.
My friends, my chosen family, they're barricaded within their homes.
Home? I can't go home. They are my home, but I know there is still hope.
Stronger together. I hear that on the news a lot.
I never used to watch the news.
Whenever I hear my phone ringing, I gasp and desperately grab at it.
I would do anything to get to talk to them.
I never used to like phone calls.
I am met with silence and cameras and stiff bodies with blank stares.
Sometimes I am met with no one.
Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one there.
I never used to like talking in front of the class.
Instead of dreaming of summer, I'm dreaming of school.
I want to walk the hallways again.
I want to see them again.
I never used to like waking up early.
The bags under my eyes are becoming darker.
I've been trying to memorize their voices and faces instead of sleeping.
Have they forgotten about me yet?
I never used to have this problem.
Between group chats, 5-hour-long phone conversations, millions of text messages,
and my reaching arm waiting to pull them into an embrace again.
We have grown stronger together.
I guess there is some truth in the news, after all.
The one truth I know deep down is that I love them.
I will say that every day until this is over, and even after, so they can understand that I will never take them for granted.
They are my hope.
There's darkness, yes, but where there's darkness, there's light. I will take their metaphorical hands, and I will meet them on the other side of this.
My friends, we will meet again.
I will be waiting for you. We, the kids of 2020, refuse to be forgotten.
So don't forget about me, okay?
More than 130,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and more than 2,000 deaths. Significant upticks in people reporting significant levels of anxiety and depression. We're living in a world where the goalposts are moved every single day. The U.S. sets a record for new COVID-19 infections for a third straight day. Friday saw more than 126,000 new cases reported. At least one person has been shot dead and a number of others injured during a third night of protests in the U.S. city of Kenosha.
We don't have to survive! We need to live! We need to live! My brothers need to live! My sisters need to live! My mother needs to live! I want to breathe! I want to breathe!
The gunfire started in the early hours of Wednesday after hundreds of protesters defied a dawn-to-dusk curfew and clashed with police, then responded with tear gas and rubber bullets.